Welcome to another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmy. It's my co-host, Quinton Brown. And today we have the magnificent Karen Berger, the owner of Don Kiki Cigars, K by Karen, and many other goodies that we're going to get into. Karen's just fresh back from the Premium Cigar Association trade show where they were featuring their latest blend. We'll get into those tonight. And we'll talk a little bit about, the journey that Karen has been on. And along with Karen today is Bruce Busch. And Bruce, I'm sorry I never really got your official title in the corporation.
I'm the vice president of the company.
The vice president. Thank you.
I'm right below Karen.
Right. That's yeah.
Listen, Jimmy, the other thing that you didn't mention that they were giving out for free at PCA was COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot there. That's probably a good way to kick this off from a public service announcement. A lot of people have come back. You'll come back. You all seem to be fairly healthy coming back. Others have talked about that they've tested positive. They weren't feeling, all right. Nobody's severe yet. But I would say that if you see somebody who has who posted that they tested positive, you might want, and you were around them, you probably should get tested just in case. You may be asymptomatic. You don't want to get other people infected. So, just keep an eye on that for a while. It wouldn't hurt if we had a Facebook quick group set up to just track all PCA positives, just so we know where we are, so nobody gets injured.
Yeah.
But you all looking fine. Have no problems there. How was PCA?
Hello, Boston. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us again. So I just made the test like 1 day ago, and everything is good. Thanks God. In my family, everybody got COVID except myself. I don't know why.
That's because you are the angel that you are, Miss Berger.
Thank you, Quinton. Thank you. So we are really excited, working a lot. Don't stop. So we had amazing PCA. This year, of course, was better than the last year. Every day we had a lot of improvement. We are learning many things. So I think that me and my team and me, we are doing really good day by day, learning something new. Right, Bruce?
Absolutely. So, yeah, we had a great trade show. It was amazing. We had a lot of great people coming in. A really cool thing I thought also, a lot of new lounge owners. I must have saw like 10 people that just started up their lounge in the last year or 2 years. And that's very promising for our industry, seeing a lot of people new to the business coming in there. Yeah, I got a brand new lounge in Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, wherever. So it was really cool. And our cigar went over really well. Not one person who smoked this wasn't like, oh my God, what is that? So
now these new lounge owners, obviously some know more about the cigar business than others, perhaps. Did you run into any folks that maybe didn't know who Karen Berger was?
Okay. The back 2 rows were all these like micro boutiques, and I sent as many people over to them as I possibly could, but there's a lot of small companies trying to make their way in the business. And as we're a quasi boutique at this point in time. We're boutique-y, but we're climbing. So I'm doing everything I can to help everyone along, and help the whole rising tide raises all boats kind of thing,
Well, the question was more, and maybe I don't know if it cut out in the middle of it, but the question was more, did you meet retailers who maybe didn't know Karen Berger or Don Kiki Cigars?
Oh, definitely.
First time.
Yeah, somebody asked me that question not too long ago, and they're like, when do you stop being a boutique? And my answer to that was, when people go, Karen Berger, Don Kiki, I've never heard of them before. As soon as you'll stop saying that, there's 4,400 cigar lounges in the United States. I want all 44, by the end of the year, I want all 4,400 to know who we are. They don't have to all carry us, but they all have to know who we are. I don't want to hear that. Karen Berger, never heard of it before, So
that's going to keep Karen on the road forever if you do that. She'll never be home with her little babies.
No, it's me on the road. Me and Brian Diggins will be on the road. Karen will be back in Daytona as the mother commanding the ship,
So my question to this, to Camelback that, is you guys can do as much education as possible, right? But if the new lounge owners that you're pointing out don't equally educate themselves on who you are and what you have meant to the business, isn't that sort of a detriment? Can we touch on that as well? Is that, you know, the new lounge, the people that are new into the industry also have to do their homework before they just jump ass first into a brand new industry. If you don't know who Karen Berger is to the cigar industry, then I would highly recommend you do a little bit of research before you open your doors tomorrow morning.
Quinton, you might be surprised. There's people that have been in business for 15 years that don't know who we are. I've seen it, dude. I've seen it. So, yeah, the new guys kind of don't know. But, you know, Karen, we're a real interesting company. We're kind of old school with Don Kiki, and then we're new school with K by Karen Berger, right? So we're actually like a hybrid. We have old history with Kiki and everything he's meant to the cigar industry. But also, Karen Berger, K by Karen Berger, is only 6 years old in its entirety, you know? So we're old school and new school at the same time. So, I mean, some people are like, I've heard of Don Kiki, don't know Karen Berger. Then some people are like, I know Karen Berger, I don't know Don Kiki. So it depends on what their avenue was into the world of cigars, you know?
So,
good point. I'll take that.
So what are we all smoking tonight? I know I'm smoking the K by Karen Berger Connecticut Lancero, which is quite a fabulous Lancero and Connecticut blend.
Thank you.
I didn't have my opportunity to get my care package from Jimmie because I'm on the road. So my apologies in advance to the Don Kiki family. I'm smoking the Oscar Valladares Island Gin.
I love it. I love Robin. It's amazing.
Karen and I are smoking the brand new K 25th anniversary by AJ Fernandez. And I don't know if my camera's going to do it justice.
Beautiful. Look at this.
That wrapper is something you've never seen before. So, Jimmie, if I could take a moment and tell you about this wrapper, is that okay?
Sure. I like to hear. Tell me more about the cigar, because one of the things that is interesting is when I, being not at PCA this year, I was playing consumer and following everything. So it was fun to be on the other side instead of working the floor and just watching everybody's feeds. And whenever I saw stuff coming out of your booth, what I enjoyed was that you really featured the K by Karen Nicaragua with AJ. And that was a prominent sign. And AJ wasn't at the show, right?
Right.
So you guys really helped push AJ's product without AJ being there. So you guys are working collaboratively nicely. So take it away. Talk about this new one.
This wrapper is like a pet project from AJ. It's a Habano 2000 Connecticut Broadleaf Hybrid. So from what I understand, it's something he has been working on for the last 3 years. This is his first outing into the cigar world. So this wrapper is something you've never smoked before, right? And is really something special. I mean, you want to talk about full-bodied cayenne pepper, lots of leather, tons of cocoa. I mean, it is everything you've ever wanted in a cigar. The binder is San Andreas, and the filler comes from Karen's farm and AJ's farm as well. So it's a true collaboration. And then the wrapper is a true, like I would say, botanical collaboration, if you will, because it's Habano 2000 as well as Connecticut Broadleaf. So it's a Oscuro wrapper, just an absolute fantastic cigar. We're very proud of it, and we want to get it in as many hands as we possibly can.
And all the leaf, is that a Puro, that Nicaraguan Puro? Everything's grown in farms in Nicaragua?
Karen, is this a Puro?
Yes. The wrapper is from here, from the USA. It's Connecticut Broadleaf.
Okay. Okay, so it's a Connecticut broadleaf from here. Okay.
And it's a limited edition. It's only 1,500 boxes. Every boxes has the number. Is with the number you can see over here.
Yeah, let me put that on spotlight here for you. So I'm gonna spotlight you. Go ahead. Put it up. There you go.
It's 20
Absolutely.
20 count box. The 25th anniversary touched a lot my heart because for me it has a lot of meaning. As you know, Boston, since I am the face of the company, my idea is not promote only my brand. My idea has been always to keep and promote the brand of Don Kiki Cigar and maintain his name and his legacy alive. So that's the mission that I had in my life. And I love that word because if somebody talk about the Karen Berger or K by Karen Berger, doesn't many people doesn't know the K by Karen Berger, the K belong to Kiki. So Don Kiki and K by Karen Berger is almost the same thing. So 25th anniversary represents for me a lot of things. Representing since Don Kiki was in Nicaragua and he opened the factory by the farm, and we start to working in Nicaragua, representing as well the 25 years that Esteli Cigar factory has been in Nicaragua, one small factory, but I saw in all these years, manufacturers in Nicaragua, some closed, some open, some closed, but Esteli Cigar is always there. Nice. And as well, representing myself in the cigar industry. So it's a lot of meaning to me. The cigar is amazing. Everybody needs to try this cigar. As I said before, it's a limited edition, no more production in this particular cigar. I am very thankful with Mr. AJ Fernandez who gave me the opportunity. I present my project to him and I told him that I would like to make a cigar with him, and he was very gentleman, he was very friendly, and he said, whatever you want, Karen, we can work together. So we start the process like 1.5 years. So working in some blends and everything until that we get the thing that I was looking, and also the thing that he said, this is a good cigar for you too.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a great story. And I love that concept of the K representing both you, Karen Berger, and Kiki, because you're keeping his memory alive throughout this industry because he was such a phenomenal individual, very loving, very giving to the world. Anybody that ever ran into him, they just loved the man. And not just in this industry, but just as a person, wherever he went. So I didn't think about that until you just told that to me. I said that makes a lot of sense.
There are another thing that many people confuse in the top of the K, there are a crown. People think that the crown is because many people call me the Queen of Cigar. And no, this K belongs the original blend of Don Kiki, the same label. I took the K and I took the crown of Don Kiki original label.
Nice.
That carries over from the Don Kiki with the crown on it to K by Karen Berger. Yeah. So that's the piece.
Now that you go back. I mean, you started in the cigar industry when you were 18 years old. So you're about 25 now. So that's about 7 years in the business, right? I don't know how you keep your age. It must be the Nicaraguan blood, because I tell you what, I don't think you've aged beyond 25. I really don't. You know, I mean, every time I see it, it's like, good Lord, man, I wish I was aging as well. You know,
no, what is the secret? The secret is that I eat gallo pinto every day. So that's why.
There you go.
Try the gallo pinto. Had you been in Nicaragua? Of course, you had to try the gallo pinto. Usually, we eat gallo pinto at breakfast morning and sometime in the dinner. So that's why, you know, my traditional culture, my food, I am considering myself as a master chef. I love cook. I love it. So for me, Cuban, Nicaraguan, and Italian food has to be in my house always. I love pasta. I love Cuban food, of course. My mother-in-law taught me how to cook Cuban food, and as well, of course, Nicaraguan food. So that's why eat a lot of gallo pinto.
Well, we had that's good, because my wife made taquitos today, which is, you know, with the black beans and the ground beef and a little bit of cheese, and she keeps me healthy. She keeps me losing my weight, and you know, so long as I have her around, I'll eat well but not get overweight anymore. So that's food's good, but don't overdo it. Now, but in all seriousness, you go back to when you were like 18 years old, and you were trying to pay
Hi,
for
Antonella.
college. Hi. Gosh, she's gotten so big.
They're so big.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
go find Shalom. Shalom is crying for you. Go,
I would not find him.
go. Yes, I'm sorry, Boston.
So, and you were trying to partly pay for your college education in business, and you started working at a cigar factory, and of course, that's how you eventually met Kiki and fell in love with him, and then we all know that story. But along that path, you were rolling. The Bancheros were bunching. You were rolling, and somewhere along the way, you picked up blending, and you wrote in an article that you credit Don Kiki for mentoring you and being your professor when it comes to like blending. Explain that a little more, how important and the things you learned about blending from Don Kiki and how you apply that today.
When I started to roll in cigar, so I didn't have any idea how to taste the cigar. So we had one situation in the factory that pushed me to try the cigar that I was rolling, Since I tried that cigar, I fell in love. I can imagine the thing that we do with our hands can have an amazing flavor, different flavor, depending on the blend of the cigar. And I fell in love with that cigar. At that time, I continued to roll in cigar until that met Don Kiki. So we started the relationship with him and everything. So since that everything happened, we married and everything. So I started to working in a different stage and different operation in the factory, as in the packing area, production, despalillo, and I was involved little by little. The only thing that I never was involved was in growing tobacco. And when he passed, that's the was most difficult things that I throw when he passed, having a farm, so I had to grow in tobacco. And at that time, I didn't know specifically, I didn't know nothing about growing tobacco, but blending cigar. So I remember that always when we are working in, to bring something, he worked in Cuban crafter. So we made the production for the entire Cuban crafter. We had around 18 different blends that he made for Cuban crafter, as well his own blend, all the Don Kiki Cigar, and another private label that we made at that time. So he was really patient with me, and we are starting to, the first thing is recognize the different tobacco leaf, how to bunch the cigar, and they say the most important thing, Karen, the cigar, first of all, the cigar is properly bunching to have a really good combustion, the flavor of the cigar. So it was a really long process. But believe it or not, today, that's the process that I enjoy more than everything. So I have here working in Daytona, of course, because we have the distribution here, so we need to sell the cigars. But the most really thing that I enjoy is to be in the factory, working with the people over there, creating a new blends. And since 7-8 years ago, we started with the cake by Karen Berger. So it was very difficult to me at that time. So I decided to create some new blend to refresh the brand that we have with Don Kiki Cigar. That was an advice that I received of many friends, as Jonathan Drew from Drew Estate Cigar. So I decided to create my own blend. So I started to blending and put all the knowledge that I received from Kiki and the thing that I want to bring to my people, to my cigar family. We are really blessed. I feel really blessed because I think in all the entire life that we have between Don Kiki and Cake by Karen Berger, we have different blends. Every blend is for different palates, It's for a different palate. And I know that our cigar, our main focus is to not make production. He always told me we need to be focused on the quality control of our cigars. So that's my idea. And also keep the blend, the same cigar, maintain the consistency in all the cigar that we have. Means the same cigar that you are smoked like 7 years ago when I started with the Cake by Karen Berger, It's the same cigar that you were smoking today. So many people maybe doesn't like my blends, you know, doesn't mean that the cigar are bad. I always say that all the cigars or the brands need to have some respect, because it's not only by one person doing that cigar, it's made by more than 300 people. So thanks God that the cigar industry is big. We have amazing cigar brands, but I say that all the cigars are good. There are cigars for different palates.
Very good. I'm going to take a quick break and do the sponsors for the show. When we come back, I'd like to dive a little bit into your thoughts on both you and Bruce's thoughts on the growth of the cigar industry that we just have seen, and do you think that's sustainable over the next few years? So we'll be back in just a moment. Let me just announce out the sponsors. So today's show is brought to you by our friends at Drew Estate.
Get ready, because Drew Estate is back and better than ever, with a party so big that only the Lone Star State can contain it. Music, spirits, mouth-watering barbecue, cigars galore, and so much more. It'll be the most epic shindig there ever was. Barnsmoker presents Savage Feast, October 22nd at the South Fork Ranch, Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets now at barnsmoker.com.
Yeah, that Savage Feast is going to be pretty spectacular from what I understand. And if you haven't been to any of the Barnsmokers, I would definitely recommend you start picking up some tickets if you could still get them. They are they are having the Pennsylvania one right now. The Connecticut one's coming up next month, and the Savage Feast is in October in Dallas, Texas. Today's show is also brought to you by Boca Cigars. Boca Brothers Cigars is a new and active brand that's founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, they are featuring their latest signature edition, which is produced at, who else? The A.J. Fernandez Cigar Factory, which is an Ecuadorian Sumatra with a Nicaraguan Habano and a Nicaraguan filler, available in 3 vitolas and packaged in 10-count boxes. You can check them out at www.bocockbrotherscigars.com. Today's show is also brought to you by another great sister of the leaf, Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love of cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at www.novacigar.com and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. We're also brought to you today by Rodriguez Cigars. In 1947, the Rodriguez family began the masterful art of cultivating tobacco on their private plantation in the town of Saguanay, Cuba. Of course, by 1952, La Finca's Carmencita employed over 20 workers and grew over 120,000 pounds of tobacco annually. Then 8 years later, the Cuban government nationalized their plantation, and the Rodriguez family was forced to immigrate to the United States. In 1971, the Rodriguez family found a new beginning on the beautiful island of Key West, Florida, and established the Rodriguez Cigar Factory. Founded in 1984, it stands as the oldest cigar manufacturer in Florida Keys, preserving a historical cigar manufacturing industry that began in Key West in 1831. Of course, as the years pass, new generations of family members have expanded the manufacturing operations to Nicaragua, and they're proud to be working with some of the finest tobacco in the world. Rodriguez cigars are exclusively constructed with vintage leaves that have been hand-selected, aged, and constructed through the traditional Cuban manufacturing process. And if you ever get down to Key West, Florida, I highly recommend checking out the Rodriguez Cigar Factory and take the $15 Cigar Factory tour, and you'll even be able to bunch and roll your own cigar to take home as a memento. You can check them out at www.rodriguezcigarskeywest.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our buddies over at Cigar Clowns. Cigar Clowns is a Facebook group that's on the journey to find the perfect cigar. Have they found it? No, because it doesn't exist, because everybody has a different thought of a perfect cigar. But if you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of their limited releases, you kind of know what's up. And if you haven't had one, stay tuned to the page, and when a run drops, they go quickly. Good conversation, great people, and smoking cigars, it doesn't get better. So they want to welcome all brothers and sisters of the Leaf who share the same love as they do for cigars to join them on their journey, and check them out on Facebook under Cigar Clowns. Let's get back to the show. Without my sponsors, the show is always a little harder to do, so thank them. Thank you very much. So, big year last year in tobacco cigar imports into the United States. We saw that coming through the pandemic. More people were smoking cigars. What do you think it goes now? I mean, you've seen your growth. Being the VP, Bruce, I guess you run numbers in your head every day. Where do you see this going? Do you think this is sustainable, that we brought new people into the industry that are still sticking around and take us through 2022 and into 2023?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we had a big win just recently reported, that the FDA has basically decided to, give up on attacking us. So that was a big win, and that's only going to propel things forward. I mean, like the two things I just talked about a minute ago when we were at the PCA show were new retailers, a ton of them, right? And also new brands, a ton of them as well, So, yeah, I think that it's an exciting time right now. I think that the cigar industry is as strong as it's ever been right now, and it'll only continue to increase. I don't really see anything stopping us right now. There's rules being put forth by our government, the European Union, and other places and all that, trying to corral cigars a little bit and run them through certain channels. Like, I don't know if you heard about track and trace in the European Union, Jimmy. Do you know about that?
I've read about that.
So all the cigars in the European Union have to be tracked through their entry point into the European Union, and it's just another hurdle, But I mean, yeah, it's all it is. I mean, the number one thing that kills us more than anything else is tax. I mean, overtaxing cigars. We thank God we live in Florida and we don't have that situation here. That seems to be the biggest hindrance, more so than anything else, considering that there are certain outlets that don't have to pay tax, and your brick and mortars do in certain states like New York or right. Utah or California, stuff like that. Well, California, it's not even the tax that's a problem. It's the friggin' pesky license, man. I mean, just trying to get your cigars into California, it's like running a decathlon or something like that, So
you need a resale license, and you have to have have a license in every state that you wholesale to, right?
Not everyone, because, for instance, like if you have a state like, let's say Mississippi, right, and the people there have their D license, their distributor license, you don't need one. As long as the government's getting their tax in one place or another, they're fine, right? But if you have your license, like we're licensed in 11 states right now, if you have your license in a state, we could sell to someone that's unlicensed, and we can just put the tax on our side and pass it on to the customer, So there's a few states that demand it, like Ohio's kind of tough and all that, But for the most part, it's just a question of, is the retailer going to pay the tax and push it onto the customer, or do we push it on the price of the wholesale and then they push that price onto the customer? I'm learning it. I've been in the business with Karen for over 2 years now, and me and Hugh O'Donnell up in Wisconsin, we're putting our heads together and we're navigating our way through this like labyrinth of taxes, and I think we've got it down to a science now, knowing what we have to do in every state. And it's been tough, but that's if my advice to small cigar companies out there that are trying to get started, do your homework on what every state requires out of you, because the last thing you want to do is piss someone off. I just read something on Cigar Coop or Half Wheel or something like that. that there's a cigar company that I won't mention that blew this off for years, and then now they're in arrears for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh yes, that just hit the wires today. I saw that, and they kind of snuck around it, and they're gonna get their hands whacked.
You don't want to sneak around it, you know?
And it makes the rest of us. It gives a bad rap to the rest of us because the whole industry has always been under a magnifying glass, right? With all the practices that we have, and there's been things over the years. I can go back and tell you all kinds of little goofy scandals and stuff, but like that incident that happened years ago when there were cigars that were coming into the United States that there were baggies of cocaine inside of the cigars.
Oh,
right?
God.
And they discovered them. It was all over the news. And, and then they started, so now they start breaking cigars in half, when they come in to see if there's anything in it. It's like, one bad apple just starts to rot the whole basket that we have.
Yeah. The UK and the European Union, you have to send your cigars over there, and the government splits them open and investigates them, and they do like a botanical search on like what you have in the cigar.
Oh yeah,
and that's really it's really excessive.
They want to do the same thing here.
I know.
Because they're trying to understand if it really is just tobacco, water, and vegetable glue.
Right. Exactly.
If they do, spectral analyses on this and they discover other things, then they're going to say, hey, you didn't put the paperwork out right. What did you do?
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad that Judge Mehta saw through this and realized that the FDA is kind of overstepping. I mean, it's not over. He just kind of threw it back in their hands and said, you go back to the table again. We keep bouncing and kicking his can down the road, but at least we have.
What amazes me also is that marijuana and premium cigars are like two ships passing in the night right now. Like marijuana is being celebrated everywhere, and premium cigars are being villainized. So it's like, what happened? What happened? Not that I want to villainize marijuana, but I'm just like, yes to this and no to this, and it just doesn't make any sense.
But it's worse than that because the alcohol industry being so big doesn't fall under the same magnifying glass as premium cigars, right? I was watching the NBA finals, and they had an advertisement on for Hennessy, right? Celebrating the basketball sport and Hennessy, as Hennessy is the drink of choice for the basketball players. And I just sat there and my head was going like this, going, wait a second. There are kids watching this, right? How are they allowed to do that? And we have to hide behind these types of worlds we're in, doing our own private Zooms and things in our own community. But and only certain magazines are going to take advertising. You can't advertise this on TV. You're not going to find it on the side of NASCARs, right? But all the alcohol in the world, which is more deadly in my book to you, because it's going to kill your liver, going to give you brain damage, all kinds of stupid shit. Yet they get it.
But the funny, can I back off of that, Jimmy? LeBron James doesn't even drink Hennessy. He's the face of the NBA. Steph Curry doesn't drink Hennessy. So isn't that an oxymoron? Is that you're sitting up here celebrating a drink that half of your NBA players don't even indulge in?
Yeah, because all it is marketing, and yet they're allowed to market that way, and we're not. All right. And I just want to, if you want to do it, if you're going to hammer the premium cigar industry, then let's have a level playing field with all adult products.
Right.
An adult product, have a level playing field. It's a lot easier for a child to go get an underage adult, and I'll call them even underage adults because now you got to be 21 to have an alcoholic drink, right? But it's a lot easier for them to obtain alcohol than it is for them to obtain this. And most of them,
I don't think they want this either.
They don't even want this. Exactly.
Right, exactly.
They don't want this. So I don't like what they do to us.
And then they
I don't think you understand cigars until you're about 25 years old. Very rarely do I find an aficionado who's 20 or 21. I mean, they're out there, right? But like usually you got to slow down in life a little bit. And usually 25 to 28 is when people like finally slow down a little bit, you know, just a little bit. And they decide like, maybe I just want to relax and not party and become an idiot and get drunk and all that. And that opens the doors to cigars. The cigars are about relaxation, you know, they're about conversation, you know, they're about getting together with people you like and discussing whatever, you know, they're not about raging and getting loaded and getting stupid and drunk and barfing all over the place. It's not what this world is all about. So, you know, nothing about this caters to the young crowd, you know.
Granted, if you have the wrong cigar, it can lead to you barfing all over the place. So making sure that you support your local tobacconists. That's a great segue.
Right, true.
Yeah. And support Don Kiki up in Daytona Beach. For those of you who have never been there, I do have an article up on Stogie Press. You could read about it under Lounge Reviews. Beautiful place. Before we were starting the show, Karen, you were having a little issue with your sound, but I was bringing up the point that I remember being in your shop about 4 years ago, and there were like a group of us there. I came in, and there was like four or five other gentlemen that was sitting around the table, and this old man, he looked at me, he goes, Jimmy, I read your reviews and others, and I don't get it. I don't understand this flavor you get. All I get is smoke, right? And I looked at him and I said, let us do an experiment, shall we? And I went over and I got a handful of the Ks, and I handed them out to everybody. And I went through the whole cut and light process, smell it, taste it, don't light it yet, talk about it. And then as we started smoking it, start discussing, you know, different people coming up with their different notes that they were getting and nuances. And by the time we were done, that old man was like, you know what, I actually taste something now. And
right.
Because he was rushing through, he was smoking it like he would just smoke a cigarette or something, you know. It's like, you have to, it's a journey. And let the cigar take you on that journey. Everyone's going to have a different journey.
But Jimmy, there's a solid like 30% or so of our audience that they just huff on cigars. I mean, they're huffers, you know, they just like smoke them down. They like to smoke. I mean, you know, they don't really want to process the flavors. They'll say good cigar, bad cigar. So, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, the people that just smoke them to smoke them, and they just want body, meat. All they know is like light, medium, full body. They don't know much beyond that. And that's cool too. You know, I mean,
I really appreciate, Boston, everything that you do for the cigar industry. I had a lot of respect for you, for your review, for everything, for your education, as well as you try to educate and another customers. You know, that's an amazing idea. Bruce, the first person who gave us the best rating in our cigar was Boston Jimmie. He gave you our first 96 rating in our Connecticut cigars.
Beautiful.
Because, you know, you believe in us, and for me it means a lot, you know.
I mean, it's fabulous. I mean, look at this Lancero. Look at this thing. Look how beautiful that's burning. I mean, just the control.
Connecticut. So, Jimmy, let me tell you a little bit about why I work for Karen, right? So I work for Cigar Journal magazine also. And Reinhold wanted me to drive out during the pandemic, actually, to Daytona Beach to interview Karen. So, all right. So I didn't know much about Karen at the time, right? I went out there. And I talked to Chip, who, you know, Chip's the general manager of the store there, right? And he sat me down and he gave me a Connecticut Toro. He's like, smoke that. And I was like, well, I'm really a privy to a certain Connecticut in the business. That's my favorite Connecticut. I'm sure this won't match up, but I'll give it a smoke anyway, right? I smoked the Connecticut and I was like, that's the best Connecticut I've ever had, right? And then I smoked the Don Kiki Platinum. Then I smoked the Maduro. And then Karen gave me a bunch of cigars to go home with. So I came back here to my garage in Tampa with my knucklehead friends, and I fired a few cigars up for everybody. Everyone's like, dude, where have these cigars been all our life? And I'm like, I know. I was like, I'm telling that woman, Karen Berger, that I'm going to work for her. I'm writing her an email, and I'm saying, you don't have a choice. You have to hire me because I'm in love with your cigars. And Karen's a really cool person. I mean, you meet Karen once, you fall in love with her. She's very cool, you know. So I was like, this is the best company that no one knows about. So I got fired up, and that Connecticut was my entryway, man. That Connecticut opened my eyes to how good this company is and the quality products that we make, you know? And that's the reason why I work for her now, because I still, when I'm on the road, I go to cigar lounges, I tell people to smoke that Connecticut. I'm like, there's not a better Connecticut out there. And I might be a bit biased, but you know what? That Connecticut is the reason I work for Karen, you know?
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Considering what you just said, yes. Now,
Boston, can I cut in for a quick second?
please do, man. Take the show.
Karen, can I ask you a question? What does it feel like being a woman in your shoes? And for those that don't know, you are, in my eyes, personally, and I know in a lot of other people's eyes, you are the queen of the cigar industry. What does that feel like to wear that crown? What does that come with? What responsibility do you feel like you wake up with in the morning when somebody gives you that title or puts that on your plate? What does that come with?
Thank you so much for your words. Believe it or not, I say always that all the women are queens, you know? So we play different roles in life, as a wife, as a businesswoman, as a single mother. So there are many different roles that women play, you know, and it's really hard. But for me, being in a male cigar industry is sometimes it's a lot of stressful, because first I try to do everything properly, you know, to keep some part. We don't have the same level as a man in the cigar industry, but I am really happy right now that the increase of women's smoking cigar has been growing and growing a lot. So 85% of people, of women in the United States smoking cigar. 20% or something like that is men smoking cigars. So there are not too much difference in my point of view. And it's really hard. The first thing that I try to be an example is for my two daughters, you know. For me, everything that you do in life, you do it with passion, responsibility. That's my first things, you know. I worked so really hard. Wasn't easy when my husband passed away. I didn't know that I will be fighting with big men, big examples of male in the cigar industry. Until today, I follow a lot of examples that are they are doing amazing. But as well, I try to open some eyes that women in the cigar industry, we have the knowledge, and every day we try to educate ourselves, you know. So I feel the support, the different women in the cigar industry. I feel really happy to share sometimes the same table with amazing, beautiful women in the cigar industry. Miss Cynthia Fuente, Nova Cigar, Daddy Gonzalez, Nurka Reyes. Oh my God, I was in PCA and in a meeting with the Soul Global Movement.
Global movement of SOTL, yeah.
Yes, and for me, being with a group of ladies that representing some brand, Raquel Quesada, I had the opportunity to meet Nirka Reyes, which for me, it's very young lady running her company, and that's amazing. So I think that it's responsibility of each woman to do a good example and be well educated to transmitir, para transmitir.
Transmit, yeah. To transmit the message, yeah, of what women are doing in the industry right now.
Now, back in 2021, you had the distinct honor of winning the Tobacco Business Woman of the Year award. How did you feel about that? I was like, that's
oh my God. You know, that was
good competition you were against.
Yes. So So I was nominated in 2020 and won Miss Janine Perdomo, all my respect for her. So, but last year, 21, I won that recognition and means a lot to me. I am very thankful with Tobacco Business Magazine because this is one of the magazines that taking care of the role of women in the cigar industry. That awards means a lot to me because let me tell you something. So 80% of people who work at cigar factory are women, as me. As when I started rolling cigar, people from the pre-industry, people from packing area. So 80% of the people including in the growing tobacco in the farm are women working in the farm, you know. So for me, this award means I was thinking the lady who worked for me, Carmen Vasquez, today is her birthday. So she has been working for me for more than 25 years too. For me, that award belonged to my people, belonged to my factory, belonged to all ladies who work in the factory, to all the ladies who has a dream. So, you know, I believe that the dreams coming true. That's not a phrase. I know that if you work hard for the thing that you want, later, sometimes it takes a lot of time, sometimes it's very quickly, happen in different way. But I know that everything, if we work really hard, we can have it. And for me, reach or won that award helped me a lot to have more respect in the cigar industry. And as well, the recognition that I had inside of my heart means a lot, means that there are something good that we are doing, you know, as a company, as a factory, as a team. So there are something that we are doing good, and I feel really proud of that.
It meant a lot to Karen when she won that award to talk about all the women in the industry, and she did not gloat over herself at all. I mean, she mentioned the women picking the tobacco, the women sorting it with their eyes. They have better eyes than men do for sorting color, dexterity of fingers and rolling and all that. So Karen made it a point when she won that award to discuss all the women in the industry. It's not Karen's award. It's an award for all the women that have been working so hard in the business.
Right. Right.
Now, what would you say in all your years in the industry was your biggest challenge or hurdle that you had to get over?
So biggest challenge, you know, I work really hard. You know, I think that every day I try to reach something new, to make something new, to produce something new, to be almost in the same level. For me, there are big companies, there are small companies. There are no competition between both. Sometimes big company has a lot of advertising, promotion, and everything, and I respect that. But for me, the main thing is, you know, is continue working and doing all the things in a good way, having the quality on the cigar, the consistency in the cigar. So for me, that's the main focus. As I tell you before, one of the biggest challenges that I had is when my husband passed away. I didn't know nothing about growing tobacco. So he passed away in September and October. I was doing my first crop. So that was a mess, but thanks God I had a really good people to help me to sell the tobacco leaf. I really been thankful because in life, for me, being thankful is the most important word in life. I remember that people that at the first time give me advice, help me to grow in my company, help me to grow in everything. So I have been very blessed in that aspect. I have many people who has been supporting me, and always, I never forget all these people that always has give me a hand, you know?
Awesome. Awesome. That's if I go to Bruce for a second, how many states is your product in now?
Right now we are in 42. We just got Washington and we just got Iowa. No, 43. We just got California too. So now we're in, believe it or not, Boston, Jimmie, 44. We just got Massachusetts, your home state.
Well,
yeah,
my adoptive state. we'll call it.
Yeah. So we're in 44 now. I mean, it's been for 2 years. I've been a high school teacher, and on weekends I've been on an airplane for Karen, flying to Michigan, Wisconsin, Kansas, wherever, selling cigars. Chicago. I've been all over the place. Ohio, and it's been tough getting it out there. But when I started with the company, we were only in a handful of accounts, and now we have over 500. So we're really, really doing well right now. The goal is to have a cigar in every single state, in all 50 states. And that's going to be kind of hard because North Dakota is going to be kind of tough. Yeah, we're not in Hawaii. Yeah. We're not in Hawaii yet. We're not in South Dakota. We don't have a cigar in Oregon or Vermont. I mean, so we're working on it. We're almost there, man. I mean, but, the states that we are in, our cigars are blowing up in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, very popular in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama now, Texas. Our cigars are huge, Arizona or Oklahoma. So we're doing really well. I'm very proud of all the progress we made,
Have you set your sights yet on the international market?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We just closed a deal with a client in Budapest, Hungary. And so now when I go meet Karen on Monday, I'm going to go over to Daytona Beach. We're going to work on shipping the cigars over to Budapest. And there'll be a nice entryway for us into the European Union, which is important because when you have a client in the European Union, doesn't matter where they're at, they go into a bonded warehouse and they can distribute throughout the European Union without any red tape, So now we're going to have our port of entry into the EU. And I know clients in France that want our cigars. I know clients in other places in the EU that want our cigars also. So Karen and I are going to go to Europe in September, and we have the Intertobacco Dortmund trade show. And then Karen and I have 3 events in Switzerland, which many people may not know is not part of the European Union, actually. And then I'm going to Austria for 4 days. Nice. And I'm going to go to lounges in Austria and promote our cigars there.
So you got to get them into Portugal because I'm going to be in Portugal in February.
Portugal? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do what I can, man.
Because that's, Portugal, Spain, big cigar world over there.
A lot of Cubans there, though. A lot of Cubans.
Yeah, but, the Europeans will like that too. I mean, I've done a lot of travel back and forth to Europe on business. And, 20 years ago, that's all you saw.
Right.
10 years later, you started seeing a sprinkling. You're seeing now a lot of companies now have gotten over there, and the Europeans are beginning to understand because they read the stuff that guys like me write about and my brethren in the industry, and they're like, how come we don't have these?
Right.
And, even though their palate is different, and they've been trained and conditioned to a Cuban cigar, let's be real. The Nicaraguan cigars, Dominican cigars, they just have to try them, and they're not what they were 20, 30 years ago, right?
Well, if you smoke nothing but Cubans and then you have 3 or 4 good Nicaraguan cigars, I think the first thing that'll happen to you is this. Oh, my God, what is that? It's a shock on the system. It's like the first time you ever ate sushi, you're like, oh, my God, what is that? You smoke that Nicaraguan cigar, you're like, where has this been all my life,
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden you start reaching for that instead of everything else. I know Germany, for instance, is now 50% Cuban and 50% other, you know, Nicaraguan, Dominican, Honduran, whatever,
In fact, when I would travel over to Germany, I used to hang out I was traveling back and forth to Nuremberg all the time. And there was a Casa del Habanos house there in the square. And I would go in there all the time. And up the top floor is where the lounges and the humidor, that's all the Cubans. But if you walk downstairs, there's a whole nother humidor just filled with everything else that we love.
Wow, no kidding.
And that was in 2007, 8, 9.
That's incredible.
They had all kinds of stuff there because they wanted to make sure that they could appeal to both the American and of course, most Americans that go there are going to want to smoke Cuban cigar because it was legal. It's like, I can get it. But in the final analysis, it's just a different profile.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's spicier. I equate it to the beer industry, right? So Germany, Belgium, and the Czech Republic, they dominated the beer industry for a long time. American beers were garbage. They were Budweiser, Miller Coors, all that water. You know, that sex in a canoe, fucking close to water. Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So, and then the United States started coming out with the craft brew movement, you know, and now all the international awards go to the United States. I mean, American beers have passed up Germany and the Czech Republic and Belgium like they're going backwards, you know. I think the same thing is happening with the cigar industry right now. Nicaraguan cigars are just the best in the business. You've heard the adage where, like, you know, if you buy a box of 20 Cuban cigars, you're probably going to get 3 or 4 that don't draw, burn weird, or something like that. You get 20 Nicaraguan cigars, and you got either 19 or 20 good cigars, you know?
Right.
So those numbers are coming out, and people know that, you know?
So we're going to take another quick break here. We're going to go through what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press. There should be a short segment this week because PCA was happening, and there wasn't a lot of news anymore. So we'll quick go over to that page. So this week, I was able to crunch in a couple of reviews. So the Eleanor Rose is coming out of Sereno Cigars. So they have a new division called Studio Sereno where they're using some leaves that they don't normally use. They kind of do some experimentation. This one's called the Eleanor Rose Revolver. Eleanor Rose is a kind of a throwback to the Beatles, Eleanor Rigby. It is
Sure.
It is their favorite, one of the favorite bands of the owners and the son, and the Revolver album is what this one's named after. Anyway, this right here is an $8.95 cigar. It was released in 2021. It's a Ecuadorian Habano 2000 Rosado, a Nicaraguan Jalapa binder, and a Nicaragua Esteli, Peru, and Pennsylvanian filler. So rather bold set of fillers in here. I was getting some nice cedar and citrus, coffee and cream. I've got this beautiful espresso that came in mixed with that citrus. I always love that combination. The fruit, a little bit of leatheriness to it, some pepper and spice. Burn wise, construction, beautiful construction. There is a little bit of a twist cap. You can hardly see it here on this one. A little bit of veins on it, not a problem. Nicely packed. Decent burn coming through. I love the burn. It did have a fairly okay burn cone. I would like to have a little more on it, but it did get a little off burn after the ash dropped. Didn't need to be touched up, but it carried its way. So overall, this is a solid 91. The second one we looked at was the Punch Corrojo Aristocrat. Okay, so the Punch Corrojo Rare Corrojo Aristocrat, they come out with this every year. This is the latest one. This one here is a Figurado. Come in at a 90 on this one. This is a $9.99 cigar, released this year. It's got some chocolate and coffee, some cream, some natural sweetness, pepper. It did get a little sour near the final, between the second third and the final third, but that kind of lasted just a little bit, some spice and woodiness to it. It's got a Sumatra wrapper, a Connecticut broadleaf binder, and Nicaraguan, Honduran, and Dominican fillers in it. It comes in. I like the way they package them in the box because they are Figurados, so you turn them back and forth like this, so they fit in the box nicely. Nice looking cigar. I love the fact that it has solid ash and kept the form. Had a nice burn line going through. It did have a flat burn cone coming down, but it was centered. Picked back up. Overall, really nice cigar. I would say that there wasn't much flavor development after the first third, unfortunately. It doesn't mean it was bad. It just kind of kept consistent at that flavor mark. There was just a little nuance here or there, but nothing where it got into any complex transitions. So that was kind of one of the digs, and along with a little bit of sour note in the second third. The last one I looked at was from our friends at Drew Estate. This is their new Nica Rustica Adobe. So this is the new Nica Rustica line. They announced this during their freestyle lives this year. I had gotten the pre-pack, which nobody knew what it was. First time I smoked this cigar, I said, wow, this is a really nice cigar. I didn't know what it was. I will say our friend over at Cigar Prop, Kevin Shahan, nailed it. He picked it as a Nica Rustica. I was like, this didn't feel like a Nica Rustica to me, but ended up being one. So congratulations to him. He figured out what it was. But nice looking cigar, $6.48. Okay. So again, you can have really good cigars and not cost you $30. All right. This is a Habano wrapper with a Brazilian binder and a Nicaraguan filler from Esteli and Jalapa. I was getting beautiful notes of cocoa and cream. That cream was in there a lot. There was fruit and natural sweetness. There was a beautiful sweet nut aroma coming off the foot. Peppery, savory spice, and just kind of a normal peppery spice at the end. This cigar comes in 3 vitolas, from a Toro to a Gordo. The Gordo is the most expensive, and it's only $6.48. Nicely constructed and rolled. Very nice burn as it came through. The ash did drop early on this with a flat but scented burn cone. Kind of picked back up, burned its way through. I will say that the one thing about this, I smoked all 3 vitolas. Although the review is on the Gordo, I smoked all 3, both before they were announced what they were, and also for this review. And everyone was consistent. Everyone had a very consistent burn, and everyone had a very similar flavor profile. Kudos to them. I bring up the fact in the very beginning here in the article, and Karen can appreciate this, that when you create cigar blends, the master blender focuses on how different cigar leaves work together, much like a food recipe, with varying ingredients to offer the consumer a pleasant and balanced array of flavor sensations. But they also need to understand how the bunched leaf in the finished cigar combusts to offer a proper burn and draw through the experience. And they nailed it on this for $6.48. So big kudos for that. I think that was an awesome achievement on their part. In the news this week, there's a few news articles. General Cigars continue to come out with more releases. They have revamped their Sancho Panza line. Matt Booth now, as you know, has sold his company, and now he is part of supporting and consulting with General and STG. His hands are all over this Sancho Panza. EP Carrillo is now shipping the Inch Nicaragua, so look for that. If you're a fan of the Inch, they'll be showing up on shelves now. Matt Booth also did a complete makeover, an extreme makeover on the Los Estados line. And General also, this is an interesting article because you might have seen this running through the news feeds. General has kind of did what they call a declaratory judgment lawsuit against Fuente because Fuente sued him for their CAO BXA line. But the problem is they've been running this X all the time, and they're saying that the X is an infringement on the Opus X. So I don't know. I think this is all frivolous stuff. They should just, I don't see the problem. But if somebody wants to defend their trademark, that's fine. But we'll see what the courts say in the end on that. And then, and Alec Bradley finally unveiled their new mixed classics at PCA trade show on day one. And I think that's it. That's the news and reviews. If you go to Take It to the Nub, we have now the Enrique Sejas interview up, and I'll have the Steve Soccer interview up. It's out on the YouTube channel. I just got to drop it in the article here, but you can check it out if you want to. Let us come back to Bruce and Karen. So we're coming up on the hour. This is the segment where we go through kind of a short little lightning round, keep the answers simple, just try to learn more about you, Karen, and things beyond cigars. All right. So Quinton, you must have some thoughts already in your head.
So Karen, we touched on the dog at the beginning. What is the dog's name?
Chalon.
And how did that name come about?
You know, many people know that my husband was Jewish, so that's why I carry my high with me that belong to him, and this is my always is with me. So I am Christian, but also I follow with him. I know a lot of I have a lot of respect for Jewish religion. So Shalom has a lot of meaning. It's peace, as peaceful, and I love that name. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I always like to ask, in your free time, which I'm sure you have very little of, between being a single mom and dealing with your children and dealing with a shop and dealing with a cigar business, do you get time to sit back and stream any cool shows on TV?
I didn't have time. You know, I pay cable in my house, and I realized why I pay cable in my house. No, I don't have time to watch TV. My kids are sometimes on the computer, studying or doing or watching whatever they want. So I don't have many time to watch TV. I don't have any show in particular. Yeah. But one of the things that I enjoy in my free time is to stay in my house, sharing with my family, and watching Disney movies. I love it. Yeah.
Disney movies with the kids. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Karen, obviously we know that the Don Kiki line is your baby. If you were not going to smoke a cigar of your own, what is the cigar that you frequent the most?
I have a lot of cigars that I love, that I like a lot. An example, I love the Oliva Connecticut, in the line of Oliva. I really like a lot. Steve Saga, I love Mi Querida cigars. And the Fratero line, I love Arlequin cigar, which is made by Joya de Nicaragua. It's a really good cigar. Arturo Fuente, I like the San Ram 54 or 56. I love a lot that particular brand. And one of my favorite is Padron, but not the expensive fly. I like more that Padron 3000, Padron 7000. For my palate, that's the cigar that I enjoy more.
Now let's turn the clock back. When you were in high school, did you play any sports?
No, I didn't play any sports. No sport.
All right. So
I don't know nothing about sport.
So let's focus on high school. One more thing. What was your hardest subject?
For me, geography.
Geography.
Yes. But I am really good at math. So that's the reason, because I studied business administration, why I was working in the factory. I love math. So for me, accounting is very easy. But yes, I have problems with geography. I don't know, believe it or not, I travel a lot, but I never know where I am. So I have always confused. That's the funny part, you know. Bruce telling me one day, Karen, you know, I wish to have our cigar in Hawaii. And I respond him, Bruce, be focused in United States. Let's be focused.
So, Jimmy, we were in Reno, Nevada, doing an event at Ruiz Cigars out there, right? And we're driving on the interstate in Reno, and there's all those casinos there. It's like, Bruce, are we in Las Vegas? and then, hey, Jimmy, we were up in Jersey, and we were just north of Atlantic City. It was the summertime out on the water there, and her cousin Mario was like, Bruce, are we in Florida?
Oh man, yeah, well, there's we don't have any mountains here, so it's like. All right, well, that's awesome. That's the show. I have a final segment that we do now. I'm going to give you the last word. If you have a little bit of time and you'd like to hang around, I tend to invite anybody that wants to join this Zoom to the show to just chop it up a little bit if you have any time available. And I'll bring in some consumers and see, just have a little show. So I'm going to put that out. I'm going to put that out there right now. And
that's cool, Jimmy. I've never seen a show do that before.
Yeah, that's our new thing that we're doing. So everybody, if you're watching, The Zoom link is out there now. You can join if you want. I'm going to give you all the last word, and then we'll see who joins us.
Okay. I'm looking forward to anyone hopping on right now. I love talking about Karen Cigars, so I'm very excited to see whoever pops up right now and answer any questions I possibly can for them. Karen?
Mhm.
Oh.
This is your last word statement.
La palabra final.
No, I'm really glad to be here. So I am open to respond everything. Thank you so much for having us here. I am really excited.
Very good. Thank you very much. I want to thank all the sponsors for keeping the show alive. Without them, it's always a little harder to do. And I would like to thank all the viewers now and after. This show will be processed and put out on the Stogie Press YouTube channel in about a week. Don't forget, love, like, and share this on Facebook, and you too can get into the big grave, taking it to the nub. Wheel of Wonderfulness Wow Factor on Saturday at 1 o'clock.